For us in PDP, there's no factionalization in PDP. There's no crisis. I've told you in the beginning of this discussion,
yes,
we've had our worst moments. And that was when we had to battle Senator Alimodu Sharif and wrestle him to the ground and take over the soul of our party. Since then, you have only one indissoluble and indivisible PDP that is committed to taking power to solve the myriad of problems in this country. So while you can justify the movements of people from APC into PDP or any other political party for that matter, there is no way, no matter how you try, from whatever perspective you look at it, you cannot justify the movements of anybody from PDP to any other political party. And that is why I'm sad. I'm sad because I know Akpabio. Because apart from being a lawyer, he's a person that is so experienced that shouldn't have made this kind of mistakes. He shouldn't have made this kind of mistake. So that is the reality.
How about the issue of declaring the seats vacant?
Whose seat?
Both sets of seats.
No, you can't declare both sets of seats because these ones have the legitimate right to move. And when you do something legitimately, then certainly no wrongdoing is done. And so you will not pay for it. Now, if there's any seat that should be declared vacant, it should be that of Akpabio, because he left PDP when there's no crisis in the House. And so he's on his own.
There's a role that money, because of course that comes from our previous discussion when we're talking about the issue of campaign finance, the arms, and so on. It seems as if rather than reduce, the role of money in our politics has rather grown. In the last set of elections we had, most notably in Ekiti, there were allegations of vote buying, brazen vote buying, even by some of the observer groups, that more than one party was involved. The ruling party, the PDP, other parties were all involved in this process of vote buying. Now, as someone who is aspiring to lead the country, but you're also a lawyer, and you know that there are laws against some of these things. I remember hearing from Mrs. Ezekwesili a couple of days ago that this issue constitutes a felony under the Constitution of Nigeria. Now, beyond that, how do you hope to tackle this? Because that's going to play a big role in 2019.
I think a lot of it will have to go with our orientation and reorientation. Let me tell you, elections anywhere in the world cost money. And that is why even in the US, candidates try to raise money. They do appeal funds, they generate funds through other legitimate means. And that is why under our Electoral Act, the law also recognizes that you must use money in your campaigns. But there is a ceiling to the amount of money you can raise and then you can spend. Now, this issue of vote buying is really very unfortunate. But aligned to this is the issue of use of force also by the government in power.
The use of force?
The use of force. You bring security agencies, you intimidate people, you drive away the agents of opposition political parties, and then you try to give money to people who are willing to sell their conscience. And those that were not willing, you drive them away. We've seen that happen in Katsina, for instance, in the last by-election. We've seen that happen in Bauchi. We've even seen a more brazen situation in Lokoja, where gift packs that contain the pictures of the president, the governor, and the candidate, containing onions, food seasoning, and salt, were put inside with 5,000 naira and were being shared out to voters. You either collect and then you vote for the APC candidate, or if you don't want to collect, then certainly they know that you are not going to vote for their candidate. You are driven out of the queue, and sometimes you are even beaten. We've seen situations of ballot box snatching, and one of them that was really scandalous was that an APC member was alleged, but you could see it also in a video that was uploaded on the social media. An APC member in a polling unit where he glaringly saw that they were losing, he grabbed the ballot box and ran. And then the police were following him to protect him, not to arrest him. I saw it. It's trending on the social media. They were following him to protect him so that other people will not grab him and bring the ballot box back.
Where did you say this took place?
In Kogi. So it's unfortunate. All of these are bad. All of these constitute different classes of offenses under our electoral law. And the earlier that our law enforcement agencies begin to take the posture of neutrality and then begin to ensure that they are there for Nigeria and for all Nigerians and not for a political party, the better. We lost election in 2015 when we were in government. We were in control of the federal government and indeed all the security agencies, but we didn't use them. Probably if we were that desperate and decided to use them the way they are being used today, we would still have been in office. But President Jonathan did say then that his ambition was not worth the blood of any Nigerian. He said it in words and he displayed it in deeds. If we had done what is being done today, we would have been in office. So let us realize, and I'm appealing to the security agencies, including INEC. You are there representing critical institutions that will save this country. Your neutrality should be beyond reproach. They must stand up there and do their responsibility to the nation, to the fatherland. And then, no matter who you are, if you try to breach the provisions of the law, if they think that you are so important that they don't want to disgrace you, let them caution you and ask you to desist forthwith what you are doing. And then you must leave that place. But if that person refuses, they have the right. They have the right to arrest those persons, even without warrant, and then make sure that example is made out of them for other people to see. This democracy is something that every peace-loving Nigerian, every patriotic Nigerian must work to ensure that we defend and protect.
Your role in the promulgation then of the anti-gay marriage law came under scrutiny, especially because you now say you want to be president. People were quoting some of the comments you made back then as to why that law was important, describing you, quote, as a religious bigot. How do you respond to such people and to others who may not have heard?
Now, let me say that those who know me and those who know my antecedents know that I'm the most liberal person you can get anywhere. I'm not a bigot, I'm not a fundamentalist, but I'm a religious person. I take my religion seriously. And I believe that religion is personal between you and your God. Now, we had a Federal Executive Council meeting, and those who understand how fake operates will know that issues will be discussed. And at the end of the day, some members will be assigned with the responsibility of talking to the press about them. And so I happened to be one of those that were given that responsibility that day. Because not only had we discussed the issue of gay marriage, but indeed we discussed other issues that were relative to my key assignment.
That's right.
As a minister. Now, at the Federal Executive Council, we sat down and then we look at the situation on the ground. Number one, Nigeria is the most religious country in the world. Nigerian Christians take Christians more seriously than Christians will find anywhere in the world. Ditto with the Muslims. Nigerian Muslims take Islam more serious than even people who live in Saudi Arabia. Indeed, in Nigeria today, even those who practice traditional religion, they take their religion so seriously. And all the religions frown at gay marriage. That is number one. Number two, we look at our culture. How will it feel within our setup, even outside the coming of Christianity and Islam into what is now known as Nigeria? It's something that was against our culture. It's something that's even against the order of nature. And so we said, we do not want to create a situation that will bring a lot of complexities in our country. To start with, how do you expect the children of that marriage
to introduce their parents?
To introduce themselves? in schools. Yes, who are your parents? Oh, my parents are man and a man, or woman and a woman. The psychological trauma that these children will go through will be so colossal. It's something that's against our tradition. It's something that's against our value and value system. It's something that's unnatural. It's even against the law of nature. You will never see a he-goat going after a he-goat. You will never see a male donkey going after a male donkey. So even animals don't do it. And so laws are supposed to be meant to assist progression within a given society. And any law that will not take into account the sensibilities, the history, the culture, the value of the society is bound to fail. And we didn't want to come up with something that will create controversy for Nigerians. Go to any part of Nigeria, it is given that homosexuality, lesbianism has no space in our society, in our cultures, and in our beliefs. And so what we did was in tandem with the thinking and expectations of Nigerians. But that day I was assigned with the responsibility of telling the world that indeed the Federal Executive Council had sat down and come up with a decision that is in tandem with expectation of Nigerians. And Nigerians from all walks of life held it, not only religious people. So I do not see my coming to now tell the world what Federal Executive Council agreed upon as making it either as my own decision as to be seen as a religious backward. In any case, I'm sure if anybody goes around to say, oh, don't vote for him, he fought against lesbianism and homosexuality in Nigeria, I will win election on a platter of gold. But the truth of the matter is that it was not my personal decision, it was the decision of the Federal Executive Council, but I share those sentiments.
And in any case, it is now a law.
It is. It had always been a law. It has always been a law, because if you look at the penal system, penal laws, you will see that anybody who had carnal knowledge against the law of nature, that is how it is placed in the laws, against the law of nature. Because it's so unnatural that a man will go to a man and a woman will go to a woman. At least for now, we've not gotten to that level of sophistication where Nigerians will find it, I mean, as something they will want to embrace easily. So that is the fact, and that is the reality of the situation.
Alhaji Taminu Turaki, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's my pleasure.